Hello everybody and welcome to the Hello How Are You podcast by Mental Health Ireland. Mental Health Ireland has been around for almost 60 years promoting positive mental health to communities, workplaces and schools. We do this through promoting recovery, identifying challenges and trying to reduce the stigma associated with mental health. We focus on empowerment, knowledge sharing, providing people with the tools and the confidence so they can look after their own mental health and the mental health of those around them. My name is Claire Flynn and I'm the Mental Health Promotion Coordinator with Mental Health Ireland. This podcast is part of our Hello How Are You campaign, our national campaign promoting meaningful conversations. At its heart is a simple but powerful Hello How Are You, a reminder to check in with each other. On the podcast we're joined by Eric Roberts, TikTok star and our LAM host, and we chat about mental health, life in the public eye and staying connected. We hope you enjoy it. So hello and welcome to Mental Health Ireland's Hello How Are You podcast, and we have as our guest Eric Roberts, our very first ambassador for the Hello How Are You campaign. So hello Eric, how are you?
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honour to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, it's so great to have you. I mean, you connect with people on so many different levels because you must have seen a growth from where people are connecting with you, just say on social media, and now to, be even more famous, if you like. Has the connection changed, the way people connect with you? Has that changed in terms of maybe how they approach you or say hello to you, maybe say hello, how are you to you?
Mm-hmm. It's, I suppose it's a really funny dynamic. Prior to starting social media, I was an incredibly social person. I absolutely adored going down and playing football with the lads. And when you're in a work setting, I was a special needs assistant for so long. You're in the staff room at lunchtime and you're having chats with people and stuff. And my career, the more it's developed, I suppose, the less of those connections that I'm having. I'm so incredibly busy, and just coming off the back of Dancing with the Stars, I was doing 7-day work weeks. So you're not having a huge amount of, I suppose, personal connections, but through social media and through having hundreds of thousands of followers, I get so many messages from strangers that want to connect and maybe tell me about similar situations that they're in. I post a lot of my nephew Oisín, who has cerebral palsy and autism. I do a lot of disability activism as well, and I get so many messages from families who reach out via DMs and coming up to me in the streets and stuff, people I've never met before, but will say, thank you so much for highlighting this, or our family's in this situation, or I'm a special needs assistant and we're going through this at the moment. So I suppose it's allowed me to reach a huge amount of strangers and connect with a huge amount of people that I mightn't have met otherwise, and start those conversations. And it's just nice to know that through daily content and through just posting my own socials and my own life, it can help people, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? That's a really special thing. It's a privileged position to be in. And
then you've moved into basically what is a new community. Like you've moved from Donegal to Dublin, I understand.
Yeah.
So have you found the community different or the same, or what? And how long are you in Dublin now?
I'm in Dublin since last October, but I started on Dancing with the Stars in November, and I feel like for the last 4 months I didn't leave the house if it wasn't to just go to rehearsals or work. My world got so incredibly small when I moved up here, and I would never ever complain about the position I'm in. I'm so hyper aware of how lucky I am to be where I am, but I've definitely missed my friends and my family. Do you know what I mean? Your world can get incredibly small when all you're doing is working or rehearsing or dancing or whatever else. So I mean, FaceTimes and stuff are a wonderful thing to keep in touch with people, but I'm such a home bird, so I've missed home so much, and I'm delighted now to have a bit of free time to be able to travel up and down again, because obviously Oisín and my family are all a huge part of my life. I'm very family orientated, so yeah, it was, I wouldn't say it was a struggle because I was doing such an exciting thing and having so much fun doing it, but I love being able to go home and switch off and stuff, and it was difficult to do that over the last few months, I suppose.
Yeah. And I mean, part of the Hello campaign as well is having like meaningful conversations, because we all say hello, how are you, you know, all the time, but we might necessarily stop and say, no, really, how are you?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, having opportunity to have, it sounds like you have less maybe opportunities maybe for meaningful conversations because you've been so busy and you've been working so hard. But when I say meaningful conversation to you, is there any conversation that maybe pops into your mind that maybe might have been the last meaningful conversation that you had with somebody, or one that occurred maybe another time but has stuck with you?
I mean, there's so many. It's funny, it's a funny thing coming off the back of Dancing with the Stars, because even on the show, connecting with the amazing people that were on it, there are people that are in, I suppose, the same industry, and I don't often have those conversations. And I find when I'm in this position that I'm in, a lot of my conversations can be quite one-sided when I'm out.
Okay.
It might be people that, oh, I follow you online and this is amazing and you're doing this and you're doing this. And like more often than not, it doesn't feel like a genuine conversation.
Yes.
Because there's methods to people's madness. They want to come up or they want to get a photo or whatever else. So it's lovely sitting down and having conversations with people just about life.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we're conditioned, I feel, as like typically Irish. If someone says, well, what's the crack? How are you getting on? How are you doing? The automatic response is, grand.
Yes.
You would nearly think, oh God, if someone's unloading on you, it doesn't feel natural to say how you're actually feeling. If you've had a bad day, and it's comical almost, you could be just back from something that was absolutely outrageous, but you say, no news, nothing's going on. And it's just so important to sit down and have these conversations.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite things about a Sunday on the show and Dancing with the Stars when it was on is it's basically hurry up and wait. When you're in that, it feels like it's all hustle, but there might be 4 or 5 hours where you're doing nothing in between filming. And we would just sit in a room and we would talk to each other, and none of us were on our phones, and we would have these incredible conversations about who was doing what during the week and what people hope to do after the show and aspirations. And it's just something that I hadn't done in so long, was just sit and have genuine conversations with people. And it's special. And I came off the back of that a changed person, thinking I want to do this more. I want to sit and have genuine conversations with people, because I am chronically on my phone. I tell myself it's my full-time job, but it just wrecks your head. Do you know what I mean?
It does.
You're picking it up first thing in the morning and all this awful stuff is going on. The difference it can make putting it away, sitting down, having a coffee and a chat with someone, it can really change your day.
Yeah. And I mean, like having a mobile phone, having the opportunity to connect with people like you have had, through your social media and everything else, but also I feel the exact same, that it can take you away, that I'm old enough to remember when I was sitting on a bus and you didn't have anything to look at only out the window, or the people around you, or chat to the person beside you. You can see it now that everywhere you go, if you're traveling public transport or you're sitting somewhere, if someone's on their own, they rarely have a book now, they have the phone up.
Yeah.
And as I said, it can create great opportunities for connection for people. But loneliness is like a real issue, isn't it? And it's a real mental health issue. And I wonder sometimes in terms of, well, it can be great, it can create connection for people. And like I said, my youngest, in terms of creating connections with people all over the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a way that's safe and is a way that feels accessible to them. But at the same time then is not creating connections, maybe face-to-face, having those meaningful conversations. I mean, if you think about trying to have a meaningful conversation with someone and using the steps that we have, how hard is it going to be for someone to say, I'm lonely?
Yeah.
How hard is it going to be for someone to say, I'm not going through a great time, despite our cultural things that are on top of it? I mean, what do you think in terms of the connection of just sitting down, having a chat with someone that you've never met before on the bus? That's starting to go a bit, isn't it?
100%. I mean, I'm from rural Donegal. Growing up, I never had any real issues because it was not something that was spoken about. You know what I mean? If you were sad, well, you're sad, you're grand, you'll get over it. And my father, even growing up, he was a hard ass. Do you know what I mean? He was a tough man. He didn't show a huge amount of emotion, and that sort of rubbed off on me. But to be honest, I didn't really struggle with anxiety until my early 30s. I was making €400 a week as an SNA, and I never worried about money.
Yes.
It's funny. But then when my life sort of flipped on its head, which it has done, my life has changed so dramatically in the last few years. All of a sudden, I'm really anxious about, God, I'm building a house now. I need to be able to afford a mortgage. I'm doing well for myself now, but I'm having these worries. Yeah. Then I can't get down to play football with the lads anymore because I'm on the road and I'm travelling. I'm not seeing my friends anymore because I have to move up to Dublin now for work. And all these things sort of happened in a very, very short space of time. And I started really struggling with anxiety. And I didn't understand what was happening. So I started going to therapy.
Yes.
I had these conversations with my wife and my parents, and I said, my head's a mess, and it shouldn't be. I should be happier than I've ever been before because I'm doing such incredible things, and they're so exciting, and everything's changed so quickly. And what happened was, they said I was basically mourning my past life.
Okay.
Because this happened so quickly, I didn't recognise who I was even, and everything was so exciting, and I was having these conversations with myself. I'm saying, well, why aren't I happier than I've ever been before? Yeah. And I realised that I was quite lonely as well. I'm staying in hotels. I'm not having conversations with anyone. I'm talking to my friends, but they're not really understanding what's happening. Like, I'm jetting off here and I'm doing this.
And you don't want to seem ungrateful.
It's the hardest thing in the world, because if I'm starting to complain about how well things are going, it makes absolutely zero sense to anyone else. What do you mean? What's wrong with you? You're doing all these things and you're getting these opportunities. So I can't talk about this to anyone. I can't breathe a word of this. I have to just keep going. And you're worried then if you take the foot off the gas, it'll all stop. And I struggled with the most horrific imposter syndrome, to the point where I was like, I shouldn't be here doing this. People are going to figure this out. Even when I started on television, I was a special needs assistant a few years ago. What am I doing here reading the news? It doesn't make any sense. And it just gets worse and worse as you progress in your career. It starts, the better it goes, the more you're having these feelings. So I had to go and speak about this to someone, and it was the best decision I ever made. But I just realised having those conversations is okay. Yes. It doesn't matter what you're going through, saying it out loud to someone, no matter how ludicrous you might think it is, it helped so much. And having gone to therapy and had a few sessions, I said to my friends, I'm speaking to someone at the moment about these things. And why didn't you come and talk to us about it? Yeah. It was such an irrational fear that I had. And as soon as I said it out loud, I realised that it's okay to be going through these things, no matter how ridiculous you think they are. Other people might be going through something quite similar. So I started to talk more about it with family and friends, and the difference it made to my day-to-day was incredible. And it just literally starting that conversation was what sparked it. The dominoes fell. So I'm in a much better place now, but it was a difficult time, because trying to process everything that was happening and not being really happy about it and looking at things in a negative way, and I not understanding why, it was just a difficult time. But having those conversations is what changed it and what helped. Yeah. And I mean, you bring up very important things in terms of like trying to have a conversation and feeling ungrateful, because a person may have quite a lot of very good things going on in their lives. When if we do that sort of comparison thing, like some people don't have a home, some people don't have a lot of money, the cost of living is, you know what I mean? We could absolutely do that thing of I've nothing to complain about really. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with it. Yeah. You know, it's an emotional thing. Mm-hmm. And people can have a lot and feel absolute anxiety and struggle with their mental health. Yeah. And people can have very little and absolutely struggle with their mental health as well. And one might have nothing to do with the other. Yeah. But having that conversation, like you said, is like it's a very Irish cultural thing, and maybe it's the same in other cultures, I'm not sure, but we don't want to appear too big-headed. We don't want to appear that we're ungrateful, and we also don't want to appear that maybe we have mental health issues, you know what I mean, because of the stigma that's associated with it. And that's the point of one of the points of the Hello, How Are You campaign, is to encourage us all to just have a chat with each other, to connect. It doesn't always have to be about, oh God, I have anxiety. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But it may be just having the connection. I'm just coming back to where you were saying that you were nearly missing that like personal conversation, that having that connection was what actually was really affecting you, maybe more so than anything else. So giving ourselves opportunity and using the Hello framework that we have to give ourselves the opportunity to have a conversation is a real mental health tool. Yeah. So finding opportunities. And I'm just curious as well, because as a man and from a rural area as well, you know, it can be really, really difficult for men to have conversations, to even admit maybe that's something going on, like you refer to your dad and, you know, strong dad figure, you know, strong male figure. And it can be really, really difficult for men to have those conversations. So when you spoke to your friends, I'm presuming they were male friends. Yeah. So when you spoke to your friends, like, did any of them then open up back to you? You know what I mean? Was it something that you all discussed in terms of mental health is something you should all be talking about maybe all the time? Yeah, I mean, it was funny. As soon as I mentioned it, and I was so hesitant to do it, I was shocked. Okay. At how quickly they opened up straight back. And the conversations started flowing, conversations that we've never had before. And these are lads that I've grown up with all my life. And like, whether the problems were the same or totally different, it resonated. And we were going through similar things as young fathers, not seeing our friends as much as we used to, and missing different things, and struggling at home with family life. It just opened up so many conversations. And it's funny you mentioned my dad. My dad retired 4 or 5 years ago. And as I say, he was quite a tough cookie growing up, and he managed all the football teams, and everyone knew him as that. And something almost awoke in him when he retired, and we all started getting married. And it was funny. My sister, he was giving the speech, and it took him maybe 18 minutes to give a 4-minute speech because he was just wailing, crying the whole time. And it happened at my wedding, it happened at my younger sister's wedding. And since that's happened, and I've been more openly having conversations with him and stuff, we don't hang up the phone now without saying we love each other. And we've had sit-down chats together, and we've spoken about his life and growing up was like, and we're just much more open and honest now, and that's all off the back of just one conversation. Saying, just not feeling great today.
It sounds so gorgeous that your relationship is evolving in that way, and that your dad is open to it evolving in that way as well. You know, so many men can feel constrained by what they think it's supposed to be, how you're supposed to be a man and everything else, you know. But it's also gorgeous that your friends open up. It just shows the power of someone saying, you know, I have something going on for me, and then it sort of, it gives everyone else the permission then to say, actually, I feel the same, you know, or this has happened for me. Because life can be so challenging, like you mentioned, being like a new dad, you know, the sleepless nights, the worry about making sure that I'm presuming, like most men still feel like I have to be the provider, I have to make sure I protect them. You know, there's so many things can be put on a man's shoulders. Not just men, women absolutely struggle with their mental health and feel quite a lot of those things as well. When you think about yourself as a young man, and it didn't sound like you had any like sort of challenges in terms of anxiety, like you're in your 30s before you say maybe had an open mental health conversation and you went for therapy. But what sort of advice would you give if it was your younger self, say, in terms of, would you have liked to have been more open about mental health when you were younger? Would you have liked it to have, for those conversations to be happening around you? Do you think it would have made it easier for yourself when you actually started feeling anxiety if you'd had that while you were growing up?
I think education is key, and communication, and I would have absolutely loved there to be more conversations around that, especially for young men in rural Ireland. And one of the big things for me was not thinking my problems were worth talking about. And I think when you grow up in a house that has someone that's autistic or disabled, your problems are tiny. And they are, it's true, our problems are so small. When I have a nephew who needs round-the-clock care, nappies changed, he's 19 years of age, fed, our problems are quite small. I have an incredible sister there. My nephew Oisín didn't miss a day of school for 14 years. Every single morning she was up, never complained once. And then I'm sitting there thinking, I haven't gone out for pints with my friends in a while. You think to yourself, this isn't worth mentioning. But then that builds up and builds up. And when you don't have these conversations about what you are going through yourself, it can weigh you down. Yeah. And then you've got so much going on, you can't focus on anything else. And it affects everything. But having day-to-day conversations, if I could reach out to my younger self, I would say, don't hesitate to talk about you've had a bad day, or you're going through this, or you're worried about what's coming up. And you mentioned as a new dad, it's funny, when I was in therapy, my wife was pregnant at the time, and she the therapist had asked me, are you nervous about becoming a dad? And I kept saying no, I'm not really worried about it, I'm excited about it. And I think it was subconsciously in my head, I'm thinking, I have to become a man very, very quickly. And it was funny, I used to laugh because she said to me, anything you're worried about now, you're not going to have time to worry about. And I didn't really take her on. I was like, I'm always going to have these worries.
Yes, yeah.
You genuinely don't have time to be worried about anything else. But that's why it's also important to have conversations, because, I mean, the worries don't totally go away. You just have different priorities. And now I'm worried about making enough money to put my son through college and where I'm going to be in 5 years. I mean, but it's funny, you automatically start thinking about these things. Yeah. And for me as well,
about his future and making sure he has one.
Yeah, and I'm at a point, I feel like I've done so well in the last few years, but I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that I'm only at the beginning of my career, and I want to do so much with it. But then you're having that internal struggle of, I want to be a present father more than anything else. And I've been so lucky to be able to do that. I can pick and choose my own hours. Like I finish at the weekend show at 10 a.m. and I'm there for the whole day. But there's a worry, if I want to continue growing, I need to work even harder and push yourself. So you're trying to find that dynamic as well. Like I have an incredible family, and I'm so family oriented, and I have an amazing father. I want to replicate that with my own sons. So you can put yourself under a lot of pressure with that as well. So it's just so important to have these conversations, and can just bring you back down to earth. And do you know what I mean? We don't need to go through every single day worrying about things and building them up and them getting worse and worse in our head. And it's as simple as saying, how are you getting on today? How are you feeling? And I've started to do it with my friends now. If I am on the phone to them, how's things and how you it's just so important. And it's so natural, but it feels unnatural until you do it.
You have to get into the habit of it. It's like anything. It's like practice. And taking a moment to be present, to say, okay, this is where I am. I'm good. I'm healthy. Where I am is quite good right now.
Yeah.
Because we all know that probably sooner or later around the corner, something's going to come along and knock us back and, hurt us or whatever might be going on. So to enjoy the good times while we have them. You spoke about your sister there. And again, that's another sort of stereotype of the carer. You know what I mean? Being stoic, being strong, doing it. And absolutely, they deserve all the praise in the world. We have a programme that's specifically around carers' mental health. And we designed it because it's something that they themselves don't look after. Do you find that with, not necessarily with your sister, but, as an SNA as well, like, did you have an opportunity to ever connect with the parents of the kids and sort of check in with them and ask them how they were?
Yeah, to be an SNA, you have to be incredibly patient, incredibly empathetic, and understanding. And it takes a certain type of person. It's such an amazing role, and it's a job I've missed dearly. My mother did it for 20 years, and she really encouraged me to get into that line of work. But you have a real understanding of how empathetic and how caring people can be when they have a child that needs 24-hour assistance. Even going to work, I had some tough days in work, but I realised I'm heading home now. That child is with the parent 24/7.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what they're going through. And I know what my sister's gone through, but she's one of the strongest people I know. And having my own son, like, nothing could ever make me not want to love him entirely and be there for him 24/7. So it's the exact same for a child with disabilities. Yeah. So there's something in a parent that looks after a child with disabilities that it's like, this is just it now, this is my life. But it's also important for them to have their own life and their own existence.
Yes.
And a lot of the time they don't. They just want to totally solely focus on the child. And we actually interviewed someone recently on Ireland AM. He was a 70-year-old man. He had a daughter with Down syndrome who was 42. And he's like, what happens when I'm gone? And that's one of the biggest worries for parents. And you can imagine how much they're suffering with their mental health, worrying. And it's not worrying about themselves.
No.
It's worrying about the child that they've cared for their entire life. What happens when I'm gone? So, there's huge mental strain on these parents. Yeah. And there's not enough understanding around it. But again, it just falls down to education and communication and talking through these things. It's so important.
And I think people shouldn't be afraid to say to a parent or a carer, like, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
And sitting down and having a chat. You're not going to be able to change anything about their circumstance. But I know I've been the benefit of people showing me that they care about me. And I like you've said, you've had the benefit of that as well. Someone even saying, like, I see you.
Yeah.
I get what you're going through to a point. I care about you. I want to be here to be a space for you. So again, and I just bring it back to the campaign again, taking the opportunity to sit down with someone, to have those meaningful conversations like you were saying about. Quite often in our experience, people can be afraid of it. They're afraid they're going to take on the responsibility of the person, to try and solve their problem.
Yeah.
No, you can't. We have to solve our own problems.
Yeah.
We do. We absolutely
Sometimes
do.
It's enough to just say, I'm aware of how tough what you're going through must be. Just hearing that out loud and getting that recognition of, okay, people understand how hard this is.
Yeah.
Sometimes parents need that, and especially parents with children with disabilities or adults with disabilities. It must be really hard what you're going through at the moment. Fair play to you.
Yeah.
How are you keeping? How are you getting on? Do you know what I mean? That can go such a long way.
Such a long way. The listening aspect of it. Just sitting down and letting a person talk. Just what's going on for you? How are you feeling? That sounds really, really tough.
Yeah.
And letting that person talk is just so, so important. And then I just want to bring it back again to the steps. So we have the steps, the hello steps, and just in terms of having that conversation, because as we're having this chat here and people are hopefully going to be listening to it, and we want them to engage with the campaign, and we have created resources so that people, you might be concerned about somebody, you might say, okay, I actually think that person is going through a really tough time, or I can see that they're anxious, or their life is really, really tough, or whatever the reasons that might be that we're concerned about the person. how do we engage with that? We don't want to appear nosy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't want to feel like we're sticking our nose in someone else's business. But at the same time, we're really, really concerned. And in my experience, and from what I've heard you say there, someone sticking their nose in, if you like, can be a nice thing in terms of saying, no, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Like engaging with the person, listening to them, learning about what's going on for them, and then potentially maybe giving them options at the end. And we have all these resources for people to access. So if anyone is thinking, I'm concerned about somebody, or I want to learn, maybe I want to be more open about mental health, I want to give myself and my friends opportunities to have really honest conversations, following the hello steps can be a great way to do that. And also we have training. So because it's really, really difficult, like you've learned sort of the hard way, if you like, in terms of recognising what was going on for you, taking the steps to look after yourself, being able to go to therapy, has been great for you. But, like we have training to give people the opportunity to have those conversations so that they feel comfortable having it. I think you're very, very lucky. And I know you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but not just in the fact that you've been so successful. But it sounds to me that you have really loving, supportive relationships around you as well, which is just gorgeous. It really, really is. Not everyone is so lucky, unfortunately, Can I just ask so as well? So I'm from Limerick, okay? So like our campaign is Hello, how are you? And that sort of covers nearly all cultures, to a point. But if I was in Limerick and I was saying that to somebody, I'd probably go, hello, well, how are you?
Yeah.
So is there a version of that in Donegal?
What's the crack? What are you at?
Is it?
What are you
Okay.
at this weather? Oh, nothing. Yeah, all's quiet. And that would always, like more often than not, be the response. But again, being from rural Donegal, it's such a small community of people. I was up there the other day and I was in the shop and I was stopped 4 or 5 times and people saying well done on the show and stuff like that. And you just start having conversations with people you haven't seen in a few years. Things like that don't really happen here in Dublin. You're almost afraid to speak to anyone.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
More often than not, you don't know anyone you're coming across. So it's a small rural town. Of course, you're going to stop and chat to people you know. But I feel like it should happen more up here. There's no reason it shouldn't. If you're waiting at the bus stop and someone's beside you, and you can say hello, you can introduce yourself. And it seems like such a crazy thing to say, but we're losing that personal touch. We're losing that conversational day out, and it doesn't happen as regularly anymore. And that's what I love about popping out for a coffee in Marino or Clontarf or somewhere, all these little coffee shops, and you can sit and you can have a conversation, you can have a chat, and it's something that I want to do more myself, and I wish I would do more. But
sure.
It's just, I think it's about building daily habits, and especially with a campaign like this is so important because it sounds so simple.
Yes.
How are you? Why don't we do it more? And there's information here now that we can start doing it more and building it into our daily habits, and the difference it can make to someone's day. You have no idea what they're going through. Yeah. And just starting those conversations is so important.
Yeah. Just sitting down and having a chat about the weather. It doesn't even have to be that deep, but that connection. We hear stories all the time, and there was one story of we have the Hello campaign, and one of our partners is Irish Rail. So we'll have events at different train stations on the May 15th, which we have had for the last number of years. And that really gives us lovely opportunities to have lovely conversations with people. And in Connolly Station last year, one of our colleagues was there, and we hand out the conversation cards which we have and bookmarks, and we try and engage people. Now, people are coming hither and thither, you know what I mean? They're going to or from somewhere, but sometimes people have an opportunity, they might stop and say hello. So this man stopped, he had a lovely conversation with one of our colleagues, they had a great chat, and when they were nearly finished, then he said, my wife died like a number of months ago, and you're the first person I've had a chat with in the last week.
Wow.
And now he was happy leaving, you know what I mean? He had really engaged, whatever, but it really brought home to us in terms of, like, they were chatting about everything and anything. Yeah. They weren't necessarily going into potentially maybe how lonely that man felt, potentially the grief he felt, at the loss of his loved one. They just chatted about everything else, but it actually really lifted his day, but it absolutely lifted, my colleagues' day as well. It made her quite sad as well, And again, it's just that opportunity for connection, saying hello. It doesn't have to be a mental health conversation. It might be, gosh, isn't the weather just so changeable? Yeah. Isn't it a bit nuts? Or do you know anywhere nicer you can go for an cup of coffee, or whatever, stuff like that. One thing I love about Dublin, and I'm from Limerick, but one thing I love about it is that you can say hello, how are you to somebody, but they may not actually be Irish, which is lovely. I just love connecting with other people from other cultures all the time. Absolutely, it can be really, really lovely. And have you found, that difference in terms of, like, it's quite a large area, like, in terms of the multiculturalness of Dublin. How have you found that as you've been here?
100%, yeah. With that being said, it's almost the same in Donegal now. When I go home, there's
Okay.
so many. Especially, I'm from a place called Downings, and just so many people travel to it because it's such a gorgeous place. But I've really noticed it in Dublin as well. It's funny, we met a couple from Dubai out for our walk the other day. I've met people from Turkey, and even on Dancing with the Stars, Ariana was
Yes.
Italian, and I learned so much about her culture, and she was such a breath of fresh air as well. But it's so nice having these conversations with people from different backgrounds, because I mean, we have our own attributes here in Ireland, and we're quite reserved. But when you're talking to Ariana, when I was having conversations with Ariana, she was telling me her entire life story and just everything coming off her chest, and I was going, we don't do this here. Like,
Sure.
you know what I mean? We're not this open and honest. But I wanted to bring that into my everyday life then as well.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't share. You know, it helps, and you're getting things off your chest. It's such an incredible thing. And there's no reason we can't be more open and honest with each other, because you never know what someone's going through. You never know who can relate to it, and you never know who you're going to help when you do these things.
Yeah. One thing I did want to ask you was that, because therapy can be great if you can access it, but it is like, say, an hour a month. Do you know what I mean? So for the rest of that time, like, did you find any, and I know you said you're busy, and I can imagine you have, but whatever time you have, but have you found any other things, tips, ways of being that support you through your anxiety? Or did your therapist give you anything that could support you in terms of all the other hours when you're not in front of therapy and you need to look after yourself?
Yeah, it's funny when you sit down, you have a mountain of stuff in your head and stuff you want to get off your chest, and when you leave, you feel a bit lighter. But I would get homework.
Okay.
Because I didn't have a huge amount of time to go up to sessions and stuff, so as you say, it might have been once a month. So I would get homework to read a passage of a book that might help or resonate with me, to listen to a podcast, to do this X amount of exercise. But most importantly, it was to have conversations with family and friends that I would be discussing in therapy. Why don't you say this to your mum? Why don't you have this conversation with your dad? And in doing that, it sort of trained me up to do it more often. So then when I was having these issues and thinking about these things, I wasn't bottling it up in my head for 2 weeks and then going to talk about it in therapy. I would just straight away ring up my mum or ring up my dad and say, I was thinking about this, or I don't know what to do about this, or I'm nervous about this coming up. And then it stopped being a weight.
Sure.
The stuff stopped piling up and it stopped building up. And then it was just my day to day, where when you're talking about things, just like, oh, okay. And you're going to bed not having 100 things on your mind. You might have 5 or 6 things on your mind about the next day, but it's just so funny how far communication can go. And that was one of the biggest things that I learned, and one of the things that I've taken with me. And I haven't, thankfully, had to be in other therapy sessions for the year. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's a learned thing, and it's a thing that you can put into your daily habits, and it is as simple as, hello, how are you? And that's why campaigns like this are so important, because a lot of people out there are going through much more worse than I was and can't go to therapy, and something like this could totally change their lives. And the information just needs to get out there so people understand this is how to help each other, and this is how to help yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, there are loads of options there for people. There are organisations where, you know, they can call in or they can text, and we do have those options available on our website and on the conversation cards as well. So someone, you know, can go and get further support if they need it. As we said, though, having the conversations can be such a great way, and sometimes just having the conversation can be great. People are turning to like physical activity and stuff like that. I mean, because I'm curious now, after your Dancing with the Stars, because you were working out like every day.
Well,
with that.
I was working out. I wouldn't say every day now.
Okay.
But as I mentioned earlier, I played football all my life.
Okay.
And 4 or 5 days a week. It was a decent level growing up. As I got older, then I probably took it a bit less seriously. But I was there every single week with the lads, and it was there was so much camaraderie, and it's something that I took for granted for so long. And everyone goes through this. You'll get to a certain age and you'll stop playing football. But I stopped playing way before I was supposed to, in my own mind anyway, because I was so busy and I was on the road and doing different things.
Yeah.
And when it stopped, I didn't understand what I was going through. I missed it so much. I had such a love for it. But then there was this void of, okay, I haven't trained in months. I
Yeah.
don't know what to do.
And do you think that had a direct impact on your mental health as well?
On my mental health, and it wasn't just because I was missing my friends. It was because I started putting on weight and I wasn't getting out, and the difference it makes is unreal. Now, I was getting into the gym the odd time, but it wasn't the same as going out 4 or 5 days a week with your friends, playing football at the weekends, going for a pint after. So I missed that terribly. So then I took up running. And I put myself through hell signing up for half marathons and marathons. And running can be quite it's quite
solitary.
It's quite solitary. It's quite a lonely thing to do. So you throw on a podcast and stuff, but you do develop a love for it. Then it is quite addictive, and it was a great way to stay in shape. I could do it absolutely anywhere, but I realised the importance of having that thing. You need that thing, whether it's a high rocks or a triker or going out for a run. But I found camaraderie in it then.
Okay.
I found people to run with, and when you're signing up for things like the Dublin Marathon, and thousands of people are there for their own reasons and running for their charities and running for mental health, and the buzz you feel on the day, it was incredible, and it was honestly life-changing.
Yeah.
And it was something that I've kept up since, and I'm signing up for... I did the Dublin Marathon last year, so I'm never running again. I'm never put myself through that hell again. But I signed up again.
Did you?
Yeah, I signed up again because you feel so incredible, and the training keeps you right, keeps the head right. And as a new dad as well, getting out for half an hour run, you need it. Like you need the peace and quiet. So that for me was incredibly important. And people say all the time how important exercise is.
It is.
You can say, oh yeah, I'm sure it's great, whatever. It is so important for your mental health to get out and do a bit and get a bit of fresh air. And it's a great way for me to see the city as well, running around Dublin and meeting
learning
people
a bit about it and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm doing the Dublin half marathon now at the end of the month, and then I have a Clontarf half later on in the year, and it gives you purpose.
Yes.
And I think that's something that a lot of people can miss in life, is purpose and a goal and something to strive towards. And for me, I've become addicted to setting goals, whether it be in my career or whatever else, because I feel like it helps me. It gives me something to get up for in the morning, and I want to achieve that, and I want to get to there. And the funny thing about showbiz, there's no real ceiling. So when you achieve something, it's like, okay, that's the next thing I want to get towards. So I try and do that professionally and in my everyday life as well. And I feel like it's really, really helped me in the last couple of years. Yeah.
We recommend the 5 ways to wellbeing all the time for people. They're an evidence set of actions. So so one of them is physical exercise. But like, I think different studies are showing now, like 15 or 20 minutes of a walk. Like, I'm not a runner. Do you know what I mean? I'm always saying, like, if you see me running, run with me, because there's something chasing me. Do you know what I mean? One of those people. But I do enjoy a walk. And I remember during COVID, you know what I mean, just trying to get out and go for walks and stuff like that. Everyone was like, people were doing circuits of their garden if they were lucky to have a garden, and and stuff like that. Everyone just became so aware of how important it was. And so many more people now, like as the nights are getting longer, now it's lovely to see everybody out walking or running and everything else. But because you mentioned the marathons, we have people who run marathons, and sometimes people fundraise, for a particular charity, and sometimes people do it fundraising for us. And the volunteering aspect of it as well. It's just such an important part of mental health. And having gratitude, you know what I mean, is such another important part of it. There's so many ways to keep learning. But when I just want to focus on the gratitude and the volunteering part, because you have devoted your platform quite a few times to things that are very important to you as well. And I mean, and it's a really, really lovely thing to do. But do you feel that it's something that really supports your mental health as well when you give your time? And I know you're very busy, but in terms of that volunteering part, that giving your time and then being grateful for what you have, how do you fit that in as you're getting busier? Because you are getting very, very busy now.
Yeah, I'm incredibly lucky to be as busy as I am, but I don't think when I set up the platform I ever wanted to see myself as a martyr or a spokesperson, or when I was especially assistant when I started the account, and I had a couple of 100,000 followers before I left the job, but I was always very aware I'm a special needs assistant, and I never knew what it was. I never knew there was going to be this big career that followed suit. I just thought that's a bit of a bubble, and it was around COVID and everyone was doing TikToks, and I got a few followers, but I was going to be a special needs assistant for the rest of my life. That was my job.
Yeah.
So when opportunities, I suppose, started coming in, I didn't want to risk my job. So I was very PG, never political, never opinionated. I just wanted to keep it a fun, family-friendly thing. And when I left, that sort of stuck. And it's still what the page is today. Now, I was quite hesitant to post any sort of family life for my nephew Oisín prior to actually putting him up online, because the internet can be a terrifying place. It's a very, very scary place.
Yeah.
But I was always quite transparent and true to myself, and I was just quite honest and self-deprecating, and this is what I'm doing today. So when I left my job as an SNA, I had all this free time, and I said, I'm with Oisín the majority of that, so I'll post them. And the response, not that I expected it to be negative, but I didn't expect it to be as positive. And the amount of people that it reached and impacted was frightening. If for want of a better word, I was like, wow, the response here is incredible. But I never wanted the page to become, okay, I'm just going to post Oisín now. We people can see the incredible relationship that we have.
Yeah.
And I've been offered tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, by brands and different ad revenue streams and stuff to do stuff with Oisín. And I've never once accepted anything, because I want that to just be what it is.
Yeah.
Oisín's such a fun, incredible person. I want people to see that. And that's what resonates with people who have families that are in similar situations. And there's so much vanity in what I do.
Yes.
But there's none of that with what I have with Oisín. It's just posting our relationship, and people can see how amazing he is, and it's helped so many people, which is amazing. And that for me is the best part of all of it. It's not the brand trips and money and everything else. It's the impact that he's had, and we've done so many incredible things over the years. We've travelled together, and he loves Miss Hooley, and I've been on FaceTime calls with her from Balamory, and we've been in record studios like this and made Christmas albums, and it's just allowed me so much, having that platform to do so many incredible things with him. Like he has these notions all the time where he loved postmen at one point, so I was able to organise a post van and a tour of the post office and brought him around. Then the next thing was I want to sing in Croke Park, so I was able to organise bringing him up, and he sang a few tunes in Croke Park. And I'm sort of saying, do you want to go to Disneyland or anything, or trying to give him ideas. It's one random thing after another with him. But having that platform has allowed me to do that. So then when things started happening that were, I suppose, not as positive around that space.
Yes.
It wasn't that I was like, oh, I need to jump on this. I almost felt compelled to do it. And I don't ever do anything that's not primarily positive on the page. But sometimes when like the likes of the SNA cuts are coming in, or different things are happening, I feel like I'm in a position now where I have to say something on it.
Yeah.
Because I was a special needs assistant. I have Oisín, I have the platform. So I don't use it for anything other than trying to bring joy and happiness to people. But sometimes, because I have a platform where I have a voice, I feel compelled to do it. And again, the response is always incredible. And I'm a small fish in a big pond, but I have that page there, so I have to get involved sometimes. And for stuff like this, even. Do you know what I mean?
Platform, absolutely.
You have to, because if I'm in a position to help people, then you have a duty to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try and do it online, but more so I try and do it my day to day.
Yeah. And just in terms of Oisín, I mean, it's lovely to see a young person like that showing their personality. You know what I mean? Because people, again, can have preconceived ideas of, people with intellectual disability or physical disabilities, and they can really put them into a caricature of a box sort of thing. Yeah. So to see him enjoying himself so much and everything else is really, really just gorgeous. And then again, not restricting it to anyone. Like we have a chime video, which is like we have the hello, how are you in sign language, so people can people who are hard of hearing or deaf can use it as well, because people with intellectual disabilities or people with different abilities can sometimes be left out of these conversations.
Yeah.
That mental health doesn't apply to them. Like there's this caricature of the intellectual disabled person always being happy. Mm-hmm. From your experience, like, I'm sure you can say that that's not the case.
No, of course not. And I mean, I was a special needs assistant for 6 or 7 years, and I had some really, really difficult cases, whether that be depression, or I don't want to get into it, data protection or whatever else.
Sure, yeah.
But I had some children that went through a great deal, and it was extremely difficult to see what their day-to-day was like. But being able to help them was incredibly rewarding, and that's what SNAs up and down the country are doing. And a lot of SNAs are reaching out to me now because they're really worried, and their own mental health is in a bad place because the likes of these cuts are coming in, and they're scared they're going to be taken off their student, not just for their own sake. Oh, I'm worried I might have to change schools. They're worried because their student only eats lunch if they're beside them.
Yes.
So that's the sort of worry that is in people's minds at the moment. It's a really difficult time for special needs assistants, absolutely. But touching on what you said about them always being happy, like Oisín is such a beacon of light. Yeah. Like anyone that comes into contact with him is so happy. So being able to post him online and people seeing how incredible he is, it brings it to the mainstream. And it, like, people can sometimes be afraid to say the word autism, or like they can be afraid of disabled people. And I think growing up with Oisín, it's not that it's made me empathetic. I don't really see his disability, and I think that's stuck with me in life. I see people for who they are and what they are, and not what ailments they might have or disabilities or anything else. And I think that's just through education. That's through understanding. That's through having conversations. And if more people can do that in their day to day, and if they're confused about something, ask a question about it. Or if you're not sure about what's going on somewhere, just, what's the story there? Or can I ask about this? Or can you explain this to me? We're afraid to do it. I think it's something inherently Irish in us where if we don't understand something, we'll just leave that. I don't want to get involved in that there. That could be scary. And it's so funny. The campaign is Hello, How Are You? And it's such a simplistic thing, but that can go such a long way into educating others. And it's our duty to do that for one another, because it makes it a more inclusive place to be.
Yeah. I think being curious about people, isn't it? You know, regardless of what's going on. And, you know, as you said, using the campaign to say, hello, how are you? But, you know, what's life like for you? You know, is there anything I can do for you? You know, maybe there isn't, you know, but there's so many people. I remember like when my youngest was born and we were told there was going to be this, there was going to be that, and blah, 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 whatever, you know. But they've actually taught me so much about the world, and they taught me so much about being open to different experiences and everything like that. So what's next for you then, in terms of, I mean, is it like as high as you can go, as far as you can go? And within all of that, can I ask, like, how are you going to look after your mental health? Because you've talked about the pressure, you know, that you've a 2-home sort of thing now, like you've done Donegal in Dublin, and you've moved your family. So, and just going on what you've said yourself, there's pressure on you. You're probably putting it on yourself now, realistically.
100%.
All right, you know,
absolutely.
And you want to succeed, and there's a lot of things you want to be, both personally and professionally. So where are you hoping to go next, and how are you going to look after yourself as you do that?
Yeah, it's terrifying because I want it all.
Yes.
I'm just so hungry, and I want to get to the top of wherever it is I'm doing.
What's the top now?
Honestly,
you don't know?
Honestly,
okay.
I've no idea where I'm going to end up or what I'm going to do, whether that be the Eric Roberts show or hosting the Late Late Show or Breaking England, or I'd love a Graham Norton style show. Maybe there could be something with Netflix down the line. This all, when I'm saying it loud, it sounds ludicrous. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. I don't think it sounds
ludicrous at all. I don't think so. It's funny. Like I've so much has happened in the last 4 years that I can't believe it. Every single day I'm waking up, I'm like, I do not understand how I've gotten here. If you had said to me this time last year, you're going to be a host on Ireland AM, I would have laughed. Okay.
I never even considered being a presenter. But I started doing smaller slots and interviews, and the opportunity fell in my lap. I'm like, that's terrifying. Absolutely not. No, I wouldn't be able to do it. And now I'm in it and I'm doing it and I love it. And I'm like, I want to do more of this.
Yeah.
I want to interview big names. I want to have my own show down the line. And that's all from being afraid, but just, okay, let's try it and see how it goes. And I've found such a passion and a love for that. I honestly feel like I haven't worked a day since I left my job as an SNA.
Okay.
And people are looking in saying, you're flat out and you're so busy. And I'm so grateful, and I'm so aware of the situation that I'm in, and I'm so terrified that I'm going to lose it all, that I can't stop.
Yes.
I have to keep going, and I have to keep working hard and working harder than the next guy, or I'm not going to get this position. And it's a scary thing because you're on the ladder now, and I have all the imposter syndrome and I have all the worries it's all going to come to an end. But you just keep going, you just keep plugging away, and you have to. And I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I just know that I'm in the right place at the moment.
You're on your way.
Because I love it so much. And the more that I do, the more pressure that I'm under and the more that I'm driving myself crazy. But that's the more that I have to have these conversations and be open and honest. And me and my wife sit down every day.
Okay.
And she's up the walls. She's sitting at home with our 14-month-old while I'm off dancing and doing shows every week and stuff. And she's under pressure and she's so busy. So I have to understand that as well, because I'm off doing all these exciting things and I can be in my own head and my stuff is so important. But she's at home raising our son, which is equally as important. So she has to look after her mental health as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny, in the last year, we've both become incredibly aware of our feelings. And we never really were. Do you know what I mean? Because I went to therapy last year and I'm quite open and honest about how I'm feeling now. She's become that as well. So we have weekly conversations about how we're feeling. And
really
normally
honest ones.
I'm bleeding wrecked and so am I, and what's going on here. But I love it because my family and my wife keep me so incredibly humble. And I have problems and I talk through them and stuff, but so do they. And they talk through them as well. Whereas I mentioned earlier, when you're out and about, you're having quite one-sided conversations, and that like it can be difficult to have open and honest conversations when that's the case. So family and friends and my wife, having these conversations with them helps me so much to keep me grounded, and listening to their problems is as important as me talking about my own. And that's one of the things that when we say, how are you getting on, we can switch off. How are you keeping that grand? Yeah, whatever. How are you getting, but how are you though?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
It has to be give and receive. You have to be able to listen to other people as well. So that's one of the things I'm getting better at, is when you're having the conversations, it's a two-way street.
Yeah. And just like raising your son, and you know, when we think about the generations coming down, you know, your dad is very open out to chatting with you. So when you think about, like, we can plan for our kids sort of professionally. You know, you talked about saving for college for us, and, you know, so we think of like, maybe they'll be this, maybe they'll be that, and everything else. And along the way, we also want them to be happy and everything else, don't we? So in terms of moving forward, in terms of the conversations that you'll hopefully have, like, what sort of way are you going to introduce looking after your mental health, being open, being honest with your children, you know, and within your family unit as you're moving on? Like, do you think there'll be challenges there for you, or do you think you've started to crack the code a little bit now?
Oh God, absolutely not. No, I don't think there's any recipe to success, because the world's always changing. Like, I don't know what the world's going to look like when Rian starts school in 3 or 4 years. Like, it's just moving so quickly, and it just seems to be such a dreary place at the minute, and there's so much awful things happening. It's a worry. And it's, again, a new worry, a worry I've never had. I've never been a new parent before. So there's all these new emotions coming in. The only thing I'm in control of is what happens in the house and the conversations that I have with him and the man that I want him to become. And I saw a brilliant quote the other day that said, "You're just like your dad." And it's up to me to say what that means.
Yeah.
So I have to be a good role model and a good man for when someone does say that to my son eventually. That has to be a positive thing.
Yes.
So that really stuck with me, and I've never been more aware of my day-to-day and the small decisions that I'm making and the habits that I'm building and what that looks like, and what, like, I can be as career-driven as I want, but if I'm not there for bath time and to put him down, then what good is that? So that's something I take huge pride in, that every single day I'm there for my son when he needs me, and I'm there for his nighttime routines and when he wakes up in the morning and stuff. So yeah, I want to be the best dad I can be, because I had an incredible dad, and I want to take the stuff that I've learned over the last few years in terms of talking and being open and honest, because I think it's so important for his development, what his life's going to look like. But again, I don't know where we're going to be in 3 or 4 years' time, or what the world's going to look like. So that's the only thing I'm in control of, and that's
in 10 and 20 years. And
God,
I know.
Will any of us be here?
You'll blink and you'll have teenagers in your house, and then they won't want to talk to you. And then
oh, scary thought. A scary thought.
A scary thought, yeah. But no, but I, like, in terms of, you know, breaking down that stigma, and just from talking to you, like, your dad has helped you and break down that stigma as well, and with your friends as well, which is really, really important. Your wife, your mum. We haven't really talked about your mum at all. So how was she taken to all of this, and how was she in terms of, like, did she find the mental health conversations difficult, if you don't mind?
Yeah,
talking about her in that way?
My mum has always been one of my biggest support systems, and she's always been so encouraging. And the reason I speak about my dad quite a lot is because he was such a hard head and then transitioned into this warm, loving, big, snuggly bear, whereas my mum has always been that. And
Yes.
she's always been proud of me. I've never had a point to prove to my mum, which has been really, really special. She's just, no matter what I've been doing, she's been a huge, huge support. Obviously now everything's always exciting and there's always this new thing, but it's been a constant with my mum, which has been so, so lovely. And I don't know anyone more supportive. Like, even when I was becoming a special needs assistant, she really, really pushed me to do that. She almost did half the course for me because she knew that I'd be good at that job, and
Yeah.
she knew I'd make a difference. And a year into it, I said to her, geez, I love it, Mum. She's like, I told you.
She must have been so proud.
Yeah, I mean, Mum's always right. And even now, I mean, I'm working on different things. Like, we're doing this documentary, and my mum's on the ground, like, getting research done, and she's always been a constant support, and she's the first person I'll ring after Ireland AM, and she'll tell me how good or bad I was.
Okay, will she tell you if she's got a bit of
we're just so open and honest.
constructive criticism?
More often than not, it is constructive. What did you say in that interview? I didn't like what you were wearing today, son.
Okay.
But she's just. I mean, I'm 35 now, and it hasn't changed from when I was 8.
Yeah.
You know, she's always my mum. She's always just been my mum.
Yeah.
She always has my best interests at heart, and she just wants the best for me. So I'm so incredibly grateful, and so aware of how lucky I am to have that support system there. And it's like I always say with my mum, I want to be as happy as my mum and dad are in my own relationship. And I've always looked at them and put them on a pedestal.
Yes.
They never argued in front of us, or I want to have that in my own life, and being able to say that. I mean, who gets to say that? I want to be half as happy as my parents are.
Yeah.
And they're still so happy now. And yeah, it wasn't that my life has changed dramatically in the last 4 or 5 years. My entire family's lives have changed.
I was just going to say,
they're along for the ride. Do you know what I mean? Like,
the ripple effect of it all out. And I mean, in terms of, you know, them being probably famous now in at least your town, and probably the entire county of Donegal.
They like to think so anyway.
They like it, yeah. How are they? Are they enjoying it?
They love it,
Do they?
But I mean, it's a lot like. My mum was only telling me last week they were out for dinner and people were coming up and they do get recognised, and everyone's very complimentary, and like, I'd say Mum loves it. Like, she's like, yeah, he's flying. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that for me is such a buzz, like, knowing that they're proud. How often as a grown man do you get to make your parents proud? There's only few times in life. Once you hit your 20s, if you're not running the community games or passing your driving test, it goes away. So coming into this industry and so many exciting things happening every so often, and I get to ring her up and say, I'm after being invited to this, or I'm after being nominated for that. It's such an amazing feeling. It's something that I'm so grateful to be able to do, is make them proud and make my family proud, and be in a position where I can take them away on a trip or buy them these things. And do you know what I mean? It's something I never saw for myself as a 30-year-old man, as a special needs assistant making €400 a week. I was like, this is my life now, and I was content and I was happy. But the position I'm in now, I'm just so aware of it. Every day I feel like I've won a prize. I'm like, how did I get here? But there is that constant fear then of, I have to keep this now.
Yeah.
I've gotten to where I am. I have to hold on to it. So there's pressure with it, but there's so many more pros than cons of where I am now, and I'm so happy with how my life has turned out and the direction it's going in. So I'm very, very aware, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
Have you come up with a way to handle the imposter syndrome? Because I'm sure loads of people would. If you had tips or tricks for anyone, they'd be delighted to hear it.
I'm afraid I haven't. I don't think I'll ever get rid of it, because I still feel like I'm Eric from Donegal and the special needs assistant, and like I don't mind it, honestly, though, because no matter what I'm doing, I don't feel an entitlement, or it's not that I don't think I deserve to be there, but I'm always grateful to be there, and I don't think I ever do want to lose that. I want to keep being excited to do these things, no matter what it is, how big or small. I want to feel grateful, and having that little bit of imposter syndrome, I suppose, that it keeps you right. That being said, I know how hard I work. I know I do deserve to be where I am. I'm going to keep working as hard as I can to get to where I want to go. But I don't ever want to lose how grateful I am to be where I am, because it keeps me grounded, but also it keeps me aware of where I've come from and the direction I'm going in. So I want to keep that. I don't mind a bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, keep you motivated.
Exactly.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for being our guest on our Hello, How Are You podcast. it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you a bit more, because obviously I've seen you on social media and stuff like that, and cheered you on and Dancing with the Stars. You're as lovely in person as you come across, and it's so lovely to see a person, sort of an ordinary person. And I know everyone's an ordinary person in a lot of ways, but I'm sure you're giving a lot of people a lot of inspiration. I'm always especially inspired by your nephew, and how gorgeous he is and how fun he looks like to be around as well.
He's the real star of the show.
Yeah, and I suppose Donegal, I'll be saying Han Donegal for you all as well. But it's been an absolute pleasure. And I don't know if you have anything else that you'd like to add there that maybe we didn't cover, but
no, it's been lovely sitting down and talking to you, and I'm so grateful to be a part of something so special. And again, I think people will understand how close to home this is for me, and it's the first time I've openly spoken about some of that stuff, but no better platform to get it off my chest. And if it can help even one person, then that's really, really special. So thanks again for having me, and say hello. How are you to people?
Say hello, how are you? No, thank you for sharing. It absolutely will help a lot of people. I know it will. So thank you again for being our guest. We really appreciate meeting you, and you've been here today.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to our Hello, How Are You podcast. We hope you enjoyed that conversation. To find out more information about the Hello, How Are You campaign, go to mentalhealthireland.ie. There you can register your event. You can get more free downloadable resources. Also remember to follow us on social media so you can get more updates, and we would love to see your updates also. Thank you, and best wishes from everyone at Mental Health Ireland.